Can Baker prove anything against the Titans?
No, we already know where Baker is. Baker is a guy who works out as a system quarterback, and he plays in a situation that is really perfect for him. That said, it doesn't make him a franchise quarterback, one that you need to hitch your wagon to long term, because he's going to raise the fortunes of the franchise or reverse the fortunes of the franchise. No, this team is built on their running game. Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt. They have a playmaker on the outside and Jarvis Landry. The defense is playing at a high level, and they sprinkle in just enough Baker Mayfield to keep the defense honest. But this team will go as their running backs take them. And so I don't believe Baker can show anything. Even if he wins, he plays out of his mind. We all know what he is because we've seen him play the position for 3 years. This is a guy that is driven and successful because of the parts around him, not because of the play that he displays on his own.
I'm with you mostly in the sense of it's not a ton that you can learn from Baker Mayfield, but there is some room for him to go out there and show that he could do more than that's been advertised. Baker Mayfield's weird in this sense. We have a body of work which would stamp him as, like you said, a system quarterback. And no player ever wants to hear that you are a system player, because that means it's not based on what you could do in your own efforts and production, but where you are. And it's all based on circumstances. When the Remy's in your system, ain't no telling. But here's the problem. If he goes out there and carries the team, we have a different conversation. But when have we seen Baker Mayfield go out there and carry the team consistently? We just haven't. So Baker Mayfield's in a situation where this team knows what his plan A is. Go out there and run the football. Run the football as best and better than any other team in the NFL. But what happens in playoff football? Plan B football, as they say. We're going to take away your greatest asset, and now we're going to see if you can beat us. Can Baker Mayfield put this team on his throwing shoulder and go out there and beat a good team? Because the good teams are only the teams that last for the playoffs. So I haven't seen it just yet. But with a stretch run coming up with Tennessee, Baltimore, and Pittsburgh, Baker Mayfield, who is still trying to get his fifth-year option picked up, so that means you're 2 steps away from being a franchise quarterback or the future quarterback of this team. He needs to be the reason why they win those ball games, not just their plan A in their rushing attack.
You know what I love about this debate is that when you look at the question, can Baker Mayfield prove anything versus the Titans, it doesn't have to be proved that he's a franchise quarterback. And so for me, I say, yes, he can prove some things. He can prove that you can change the narrative that continues to be part of how he is talked about, how he is discussed. When you look at this team, yes, they're having success by the looks of their record. But we all know by the graphic that he's 1-3 versus teams that are above 500. Mm-hmm. This Tennessee Titan team represents the same type of teams he's losing to with what you mentioned in the final games that he has to play out during the course of the year. The Titans are an AFC-built team. They're like the Steelers. They're like the Baltimore Ravens. So if Baker Mayfield, regardless of if he goes out there and he looks like a franchise quarterback and is a world beater that throws for a ton of touchdowns, I'm not really concerned about that aspect of it. You know what? If the conversation changes to, okay, well, Baker Mayfield isn't necessarily a franchise quarterback, but he's a system quarterback that can actually fit the sum of this team in a way that's well enough for us to do well. A Trent Dilfer, some would say a Jimmy Garoppolo. These guys also have their roles and their parts that can play out very well for the total success of the team. So, yes, Baker Mayfield has something to prove and can prove that you can finally maybe start transitioning into talking about the Browns as a legitimate contender as a team, because his play maybe wasn't poor enough or bad enough where we would actually sit here and say them beating a team like Tennessee is the reason why they're a legitimate threat.
Yeah, no, there's nothing he can change. He can't change my mind. Like, I know what he is. When I go to the car lot, if I'm looking for a truck or a trailer, I'm going over to the trailer because that's what number 6 is. He's a trailer. The rest of the team is pulling him along. He's just along for the ride. And here's why I say this. So when I look at Baker Mayfield and I think about the elite quarterbacks and what they do to get their team, the Patrick Mahomes, even the Deshaun Watsons, the Russell Wilsons, or whatever, they throw the ball and the team hands them the ball consistently because they know he is their best player. When I look at the Cleveland Browns don't put the ball in Baker Mayfield's hand to do that. And I say it because of this. This year, Baker Mayfield is only averaging 26.7 pass attempts a game, yet they're 8-3. You know what he averaged in the previous years? Last year, 33 pass attempts. His rookie year, 37 pass attempts, because those guys were trying to say, Baker, let's do it. But what Kevin Stefanski has done, he's come in there, he said, nah, that's a recipe for disaster. Less is more when it comes to Baker Mayfield. And because that's the tactic, how can I sit here and say he's the franchise quarterback, the one that I want to put so much money into? He's going to lead us to the promised land when I actually have to hide him for us to have more success. Nah, I'm good on Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, man, you stamping it home now, Bucky. Now we in our lane talking about Baker Mayfield. Woo! 30th ranked passing attack right now, y'all. 30th. How you gonna have the number one rushing attack at 30th ranked passing attack? You know what happens then? People look at you like, what is wrong? Is it the weapons? Remember, there was a conversation. Oh, they're going to play better without Odell Beckham. How's that turned out? That's not going to work out for this team. And you can't blame the receiving corps entirely. You have to start to look at a common denominator in Baker Mayfield and why they're not being effective in the passing game. They have the lowest passing rate in the entire NFL. Bucky alluded to those numbers. But then you're 30th ranked? That makes no sense. So unless Baker Mayfield could go out there and make waves instead of just riding waves, then how are we going to trust him to be our franchise quarterback? It almost sounds like LaVar was saying, hey, he's good enough. He could be a system quarterback. Trent Dilfer his way all the way. Even if that's the case, that's not the long-term solution. No franchise, no head coach, no general manager is going to hitch his job security to something that is so short-term as a system quarterback. You always want to evaluate every position and enhance them where you see it's appropriate. Baker Mayfield certainly can be upgraded at that position unless we see in this stretch run and in this postseason that he finally becomes a franchise quarterback.
Familiarity and having a whole lot of execution take place to have success. If they're not losing a whole bunch of games and continuity is playing a key part in why that's happening, prove anything is not prove that you're a franchise quarterback. The one thing that he can prove, if nothing else, contender that's going to contend in the playoffs, that's what they can prove by beating Tennessee. The conversations of him as a franchise guy, where do we go with Baker and how much can we trust him? Maybe that's a added conversation. But if you can beat the Tennessee Titans, I think it goes a long way in the conversation changing in terms of how we view Baker Mayfield and how we view this Cleveland Browns team.
Nah, LaVar, no. I'm not letting you get away with that argument. Okay, and I'm going to use it in terms that you can understand. You came in the league as a number 2 overall pick. If you came into the league, you walk onto the field, and everybody like, hey, guys, this is our number 2 overall pick, LaVar Arrington. Welcome to the team. But let me tell you, he's just all right. He's just okay. Don't mind him. He's just a guy. Like, no, when you're the number 1 overall pick, you're brought in to be special. You're expected to be the dude. When you walk in, everybody's supposed to look at you play. And once or twice a game, they're supposed to be like, yep, that's that dude. No one's saying that. The only time we can say that about Baker Mayfield when he turns around and hands it to Nick Chubb or Kareem Hunt. So the problem that you have is now you have to make a decision on whether you pay him. And if you pay him $35 million, you know what happens in the locker room? Everyone now is looking around like, they're giving him money like that? No, I mean,
they better pay
I know
me.
I'm going to get mine. Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb looking around like, if he get 35, I know I'm getting mine. And we've seen this scenario play out. We saw it happen in Jacksonville. When Blake Bortles got paid, the team fell apart. And so if you're Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry and you're looking at Baker Mayfield and you know that the real reason you're winning is because of your running game and your defense, you can't stroke that big check. You can't give it to him, even though he was the number 1 overall pick, We know he's not special. If you pay him, you run the risk of wrecking your franchise going forward.
Yeah, you don't mess around.
Man. Bucky, y'all can't be stealing my argument, Swag. I'm the one that leans in with the hand. I lean in with the hand.
Why are you so close to your camera? I'll do that, and I'm still far away. Your ass. All right, here's the thing about it. It's crazy. Y'all flirting with a system quarterback, and I love Bucky bringing up that comp of Blake Bortles. And Baker Mayfield is somewhere in that Blake Bortles, Jimmy G conversation. And right now, that's another comp that is going to actually hurt Baker's chances of being a franchise quarterback unless he changes the narrative through his production. Jimmy G led his team to a Super Bowl in his first year as a full-time starter, was up in that game, had a lead in the fourth quarter with the number 2 defense in the NFL, loses that game, and now there's talks of Jimmy G potentially not being a 49er going forward. And that's Jimmy G, who has something to show for his work and services. If Baker Mayfield doesn't get his team to the ultimate opportunity of a Super Bowl appearance, then what is he going to stand on? If Jimmy G couldn't stand on that, then Baker Mayfield certainly can't.